Y'all, I've been putting this off for way too long, but today I'm finally resurfacing my wasteboard. Welcome back, kids. It's so good to be back with you today. Today's video is going to be about resurfacing my wasteboard, and I did that earlier today, and I hadn't did that since I first got the machine, and it was way overdue, and it just needed to be done, and I've been putting it off until cooler weather so I could open the garage door and blow that MDF dust out the door. And I'll kind of show you my setup during the surfacing process, and that worked out great. But I did it my surfacing a little bit different this time. The last time I used a surfacing bit, which is the acceptable and normal way to do it, but you know me, I'm always up for trying something new. This time I chose to use a 1/2 inch Jenny. It's a compression end mill. And the reason I chose that is simply to cut down on the dust that's created during the surfacing process. If you've ever did it, you know MDF dust is terrible, especially when you're using surfacing bits. And I have two different bits. I have an 1.25 inch surfacing bit from Speed Tools off of Amazon, and it creates quite a bit of dust. But I also have that monster from Bits and Bits. It's a white side 2.5 inch surfacing bit, and that joker will run you out of here with the dust that it creates. So I'd been putting this off until cooler weather. I finally got cooler weather here in Arkansas. So I opened up the garage door this morning and resurfaced my wasteboard. It looks so much better. However, one of the problems that I came up against by using an end mill to try to do this is I could not cover the entire 48 by 48 surface of my wasteboard because I kept getting a hard limit error when I was using the end mill to do this. That can be eliminated entirely by just using a surfacing bit to do the entire thing. But I wanted to try it with the end mill, and I got that idea from my buddy Reed Smith in North Carolina. He recently resurfaced his wasteboard using the 1/2 inch Jenny, and he was telling me how much better it was dust wise. It just cut down on that dust tremendously. So I wanted to try that this time, and thank you, Reed, for that tip. I appreciate that. But anyway, so that's why I did this. But I did have the problem with it, the hard limit area. And the way I got around that was to just reduce the size of my toolpath from 48 by 48 down to 47.5 by 47.5. And that eliminated the hard limit area, but it did create the need for a second toolpath to come back and get that outside perimeter that was unsurfaced with the first toolpath. That's no big deal, and it was a pretty nice trade-off as far as I'm concerned by not having so much dust created during the bulk of the surfacing process. So let me show you how I have this set up in VCarve Pro. I'm using version 12.5, but even if you're using 11, I don't think anything at all changes even with version 11. So first we'll just look at my job setup. The job size is 48 by 48 because I have the Onefinity Elite Foreman. I Z off the material surface, set my XY at the bottom left. Click OK. And then the first thing you have to do is create your vector. So we're going to create a square, and this was where I run into the problems trying to use 48 by 48. So I created my square, 47.5 square, create, close that, highlight it. Now go over here to the alignment tool, and we're just going to align that to the center of the material. When I click this, you can kind of see the vector move there, right there. So that's ready and good to go. So now all we have to do is set up the surfacing pass. And we're going to do that with a pocket toolpath. Well, I've still got my original toolpath in here. So let me just open up the first one here. At first, you'll see in the video, I tried to just use a 0.02 to surface off to resurface my wasteboard, but that was leaving grid lines, my original grid lines on the wasteboard, and I wanted to try to just eliminate those because I'm going to recut those anyway. So I stopped the process, as you'll see in the video, and reset my cut depth to 0.05. And for the most part, that worked, especially on the left side of my wasteboard. It virtually eliminated the grid lines. But like from the midpoint on over to the right, you can still faintly see the original grid lines, but I'm going to live with that. The reason that it didn't completely erase the grid line on the right half of my wasteboard is because my wasteboard is not, for whatever reason, coplanar or level or whatever with the gantry. And I've known that all this time, and it normally day to day I don't see that so much on my normal 16-inch signs, but when I'm cutting a larger project, I always have to shim up the right side of the workpiece there so that I get a good carve. If I don't shim it up, it's not going to cut as deep over here on the right side. And that's exactly what I saw when I resurfaced my wasteboard this time. That's why there's still grid lines visible on the right side of my wasteboard. I'm sure this is just a QCW thing. And if any of y'all out there also have the QCW, have you run into that problem? And I have a couple questions if you have. Number one, what's causing that? Why is it not level, or it doesn't seem to be level? And how did you correct that if you did at all? So I would love to get your feedback on how to fix that. So anyway, so let's go back to the toolpath here. I'm using my 1/2-inch Jenny, 0.05 depth, one pass. And I did an edit on my feeds and speeds for this bit. For this carve, I jumped it up to 400 inches per minute, and that was perfect. And to be honest with you, at first I tried to do 600 inches per minute, but my Masso, the maximum speed that it's set for is 400. So even though I had 600 in here, it still would only run 400 inches per minute, which is plenty fast enough. So I just changed it to 400 in here. Once I restarted after trying to do the 0.02, I changed my feed rate to 400. Plunge rate was 60 inches per minute, and the step over is 40%. And I think that's pretty standard with any surfacing bit, or if you're doing any kind of surfacing operation, 40% is probably the way to go. And it definitely looked great for me because my wasteboard looks amazing. You'll see that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to okay on that. We'll go down here and calculate, reset. Now we're going to, I got the speed turned down here. Going to preview that, and you'll see it making the profile pass first. All right, so it's just running the raster back and forth, and it'll just finish out that way. But you can see it does leave this raised area around the edge here because I'm using the end mill when I really should be using the surfacing bit. But that's no biggie. So let's go ahead and finish off this toolpath real quick, speed it up. All right, now I'm going to show you the profile toolpath that I used with the 2.5-inch surfacing bit. That's what I used to eliminate that raised area that I just got through showing you there. So cut depth is still 0.05. I set my 0 with the surfacing bit on top of some of that uncut area. One pass, cutting on the line. That way I had some overhang around the edges so it got everything. And let's see. And on my speed, I should have sped it up a lot, but I forgot. And it was set by default to 75 inches per minute, which is what the suggested feed and speed for that bit. But honestly, I probably could have run it at 400 inches per minute and been just fine. But anyway, since I was only making one pass, I just left it at the 75. Scroll down here and we will calculate that. After I select my vector again, calculate, reset, slow it down, and we're just going to make that one pass around the outside edge of the wasteboard, and that's getting rid of that raised area. So that's how I did it. If any of y'all have any suggestions on how to use an end mill for the complete wasteboard, let me know. I would love to know how to do that without running into the hard limit errors. But anyway, let's get over to the machine. I'm going to show you how the surfacing pass went. All right, so set up, ready to go. Got everything cleaned off. Removed my tool racks, leaving the bases in there because I shouldn't come nowhere close to those. But I can pause it and take those out if I need to. Anyway, fixing to clean this thing up. It's been a long time coming. What I expect when I get started with the surfacing, I expect this right in here to be a low spot there, because I keep seeing that when I'm doing big signs. So hopefully I can eliminate that, get this thing back level like it's supposed to be. I am going to reset this, because like we saw earlier, I'm cutting this at 0.02. I'm going to go ahead and cut it deep enough to get rid of those existing grid lines, because I'm going to recut those after this is all said and done too. And also I'm going to reset my XY, or my Y, a little bit more forward so it'll take that off. But this that's left around the edge here, all the way around, I'll come back with a surfacing bit and just get that profile there to get the edges of the wasteboard. So that's not going to be a big deal. So I'm going to get back on the computer, adjust that down to maybe 0.05, and hopefully that'll get rid of those grid lines. All right, let's run it again. Rewind, cycle start. Turn the fan on. cavemen. If you haven't already done so, this is a perfect time to give me a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can kind of elevate your caveman status by subscribing right now, like now. What a difference that makes. Dang. Still got a little bit of my grid on there. I still got to go back and get this little raised area here all the way around. But that won't be a problem. I'm going to switch over to that surfacing bit. Knock that out right quick. And here we have the finished product. One bad thing about surfacing it, makes all this stuff here really stand out. But I wanted to show you that I do still have some real faint grid lines on here. I'm just going to live with that because I'm going to recut them. They will not be in the same location, but I think it's still going to be okay. The reason they're not going to be in the same location is because the first time I did it, I messed up. They were supposed to be 2-inch squares, and I think they turned out to be like 1.92 or something. I'd have to go back and watch that old video to see, but this is where the outer edge of the grid is going to be. And over here is where the outer edge is going to be. Before, I put grids on the whole thing, but since I now have the ATC, I am just going to start right here and come down right beside my tool racks there. I don't think I'll need them over here on that edge. But that's for the next video. So this is a finished project. I'm happy with it. And I hope y'all learned something, but any questions, or if you have any suggestions, like I said earlier, don't be shy. So that's it for this one. I'll see y'all on the next video.